Let's break some photography rules in this video. What are the top 5 portrait lighting patterns? Well, you've seen 100 videos about the top 5, and there are actually 10. My name is Ab Sesay, and as you know, there are levels to this. So the first 5 are flat or on camera, butterfly or paramount, Rembrandt or closed loop, short lighting, broad lighting, and split lighting. Well, we're already at 7. I find most pick 5 out of those 7 as the standard portrait lighting setups, but I'm adding in 3 more to break the rules. Because as you advance in photography, the only rule is that the pictures look dope. Do we agree? So let's jump right into the first 7 so we can get to the final 3, and I think we should eliminate 1. Let me know which one you think this is as we go through this video. First, we have flat or direct light. This is light directly above your camera lens or a large light source behind the camera. I like to execute this 5 different ways. First is a speed light on camera. It gives you flat, even light with hard chin shadows since the light is still coming from above the lens. Next is flat light with the Fresnel. Similar to the speed light, as many speed lights are just smaller Fresnels. The light is similar, but will change depending on how focused your Fresnel is. Here, I have mine focused to about 45 degrees. Next is a beauty dish, a relatively soft source when compared to the previous 2. I have it directly above the camera. It's much broader as a light source and starts to fill in the chin shadow a bit more, also while showing off the clothing better as well. Personally, I love this setup, especially just for beauty lighting. But moving on to an 8x8 frame with full grid cloth, we are now talking about really soft light. I would say now we are in the zone of truly flat lighting. The images are virtually shadow free with extremely low specular contrast. Widening up to a full-length fashion image, you see we maintain the same exposure from head to toe. Now using a parabolic reflector instead of the 8x8 for a much broader source that is also more direct. So we get increased shadow contrast, brighter specular highlights, but in this scenario, without any background lights, you see the many cast shadows on the background. You simply light your way out of this by lighting the background, but that's a video for a different day. I do have a video below that talks all about parabolic reflectors if you do want to know more. Now you can also achieve this look by bouncing light into a V-flat or something like a thick bed sheet, using a large umbrella, bouncing light off of a wall, using a ring light on your camera. The goal is to get the light as close to the axis of your lens as possible. Overall, this lighting position gives a minimal amount of shadows, almost none once the light is placed directly behind the camera and if it's really soft, so it can be extremely flattering. Here we are using it as our key light, but it's also the foundation where I personally like to add my fill light. So I said this video is going to be the end-all be-all when it comes to portrait lighting patterns. Well, we just went through 5 setups and we are only on our first lighting pattern. Buckle up, we're just getting started. Now let's move on to butterfly or paramount lighting. It's called butterfly lighting because of the butterfly-like shadow it leaves under the nose. I know, it's just a shadow. But let's say it's in between 1/4 to 1/2 the way between your subject's nose and upper lip. Or it was called paramount lighting because some individuals at Paramount Studios thought it was very flattering. So I'm going to use a Fresnel for this setup because this is the foundation for a lot of early film noir lighting setups. If the model's face is straight on, you want to have the light at approximately a 45-degree angle, but not so high as to lose catch lights in the eyes. If you wanted more of a classic beauty look, you could easily switch over to a beauty dish. A large light source like the beauty dish mixes well with a reflector from underneath to give you that clamshell type look. Here, I'm using the Seth Miranda Brooklyn reflector silver side. Here is a before and an after. Thank you, Seth. When shooting my talking head for this video, I prefer this style of lighting, except I use a 3-foot softbox. In terms of the subject's head position, I would say it matters very little for this type of lighting, but if the person does raise their head, it eliminates the butterfly shadow. That's why I prefer really just to call this paramount lighting. But I want to know, what do you think? Now, like fine wine, what would I pair this with? Switching back to the Fresnel, let's mix this pattern with some other lights. So first I'm going to add an edge light that meters about a full stop below our main light using a 1x3 strip box. Then I'm going to add a flat light source using an 8x8 behind me anywhere from 2 to 3 stops below our main light. So far, we've done about 5 different fill light setups, 2 different paramount lighting setups with 2 modifications. So we're at about 9 lighting setups. unless you count just adding the edge light, which puts us at 10, but let's say 9 to be modest. Now loop lighting. This lighting pattern takes the paramount lighting setup and moves it to the left or right so that we get more dimension to the face and we get a loop shadow created off the nose. This light pairs well with a reflector from the side since it can catch the light coming from the other side. Here is a before and after. It's great for simple portraits or interviews with the person talking directly to the camera. Loop lighting is also great if you are testing different light shapers because you can see their shadow quality and how the light wraps around the face. Now, head position can make this Rembrandt, short, or broad lighting, so we will discuss those next. So that was pattern number 3 and lighting setup number 10. Moving right along. So now we get into Rembrandt lighting. We close the loop between the nose shadow and the shadow on the side of the face. Due to having more shadow on the face, I really love to use this with a front fill with a flat lighting pattern to just lift the shadows. I'll do this more often if my key is a very hard light and I have a lot of contrast between my highlights and shadows. It also blends well with an edge light on the dark side to give more dimension and separation from the background. I gelled the lights here so you can more easily see their effect. So that was pattern number 4, simple Rembrandt and Rembrandt with a fill and an edge light, so 12 lighting setups so far. Now for broad lighting, simply take Rembrandt or loop lighting and have the person turn their face away from the light. Now we are lighting the broad side of their face and the short side is facing away from the light. Because it's the widest part of the person's face when their head is turned is why we call it broad lighting. Using a reflector with this style of light helps to fill in shadows if they become too dark, or you can use a flat fill light as well. Just note that this portrait pattern does make larger faces look even larger, so be mindful if it's going to flatter your subject or not. So that's pattern number 5 and your 13th lighting setup. Now let's talk about short lighting. Short lighting is lighting up the short side of the face that was previously in shadows when broad lighting. In this case, someone would say short and Rembrandt because of the triangle shadow on the right side of the model's face. Here you see the distance on the left side of the model's face is shorter than the right side or broad side, and that's why we call it short lighting. With short lighting, you don't need to keep the light above your model and can bring it parallel with their face and even move it more to the side as long as it doesn't move behind them. Now, short lighting has the most slimming effect on the face out of all the lighting setups because you simply see less of it. Now with short lighting, the head position and light position are key. It too mixes well, adding a front fill light and an edge light. I think it's one of the more dramatic lighting patterns due to the amount of shadow relative to the properly exposed part of the face and with the subject looking away back at you. It's a bit more mysterious. So that's pattern 6 of 10, and we added 2 more setups, bringing us to 15 total lighting setups. Next we have split lighting. This is when you light only one side of the face and the person's face is facing the camera straight on. It's great to build tension into an image, but depending on how someone turns their face, you could quickly be in loop, Rembrandt, short lighting, or broad lighting scenario. This lighting is also complemented well with a flat fill or a gelled rim light to be a little bit more creative. And if you're doing an interview under this style of lighting, it feels like the person has something to hide. So creatively, use your judgment as to how you plan to use it. So that was pattern number 7 and our 16th and 17th lighting setup. So now that we're done with pattern number 7, we're moving on to the final 3, which I've pretty much seen everybody leave out, and I'm going to discuss why I think maybe they could be some of the most important, or at least equally as important. So first of the lighting patterns most often left out is underlighting. A person holding a candle is a classic underlighting scenario. But now let's have fun and discuss some techniques. So I have a Profoto A2 with a CTB gel motivating the light coming from the candle, so it appears that this image is candlelit. Then I add in a warm edge light to separate her and her hair from the background. And then I lift the shadows with a cool flat light so it appears as if it's nighttime and our model needs this candle to see. When using underlight, consider having your subject point their head down so the light fills their face without weird uplight shadows. And now think of all the movies where underlighting helps drive the story, like the famous suitcase scene in Pulp Fiction. Maybe it's not a classic portrait pattern, but maybe you find yourself in a situation where it tells a better story about a person you're trying to portray. So do I have your vote? Do we include it? But If not, that is still pattern number 8 and our 18th shot. Next, we have overhead lighting when the light is directly above the model's face. This probably got left out because why would you want a portrait lighting pattern that hides most of a person's face? Well, just imagine photographing someone whose facial features are well known, like Mike Tyson or Dizzy Gillespie with his cheeks filled with air. Or if you just want mystery in your subject's face. Plus, we face this in nature when the sunlight is directly overhead, so we should learn how to work with it, like having your subject lift their chin towards the light, and now we get really beautiful light hitting the face. And then when mixing it with flat front lighting, you can dial in how much mystery you want to have in the eyes. So that's pattern number 9 and our 19th and 20th shot. And lastly, we have edge or rim lighting. It's not short or broad lighting because we only see one side of the model's face. I think this one is completely legit because you may take a portrait with someone's back towards you, but is it really a portrait? So I like this challenge. First, I added our flat fill light, and then in this frame, I had our model cross her fingers as if she's hiding the truth. The hidden hand behind the back and the gesture it makes starts to tell a story about the person. A slightly unconventional portrait, but it shows that someone has something to hide, or they may just be wishing you good luck. So that's pattern number 10, shot 21. So what is the purpose of knowing these portrait patterns? Well, I never learned them starting out, and don't think knowing them will make you a great photographer, but they will help you communicate better to your crew as to what you're looking for when you're lighting something, and they are a great teaching tool when referencing lighting. But the only rule is that your pictures are dope. Now, the 21 shots I have in this video represent the 21 videos I have on Adorama TV. Well, there are more than 21, but you have to check my playlist link below to find out. Because as you know, there are levels to this. And good luck on your next shoot. Like, comment, subscribe for more videos just like this on Adorama TV. My name is Ab Sesay, and as you know, there are levels to this.